Mount Pleasant had no trouble taming the wild jungle. It was raining everything except goals in Tivoli, and stay tuned for one of the greatest comebacks in league history. But we start one place and one place only, and that's at Stadium East, where the league's best defense was no match for the defending champs. This is Match Week 19 Review Show. Yeah people, welcome back to Jamaica Fun. We had a full board of JPL action in the middle of the week, so let's not waste any time and check out Dunbeholden's visit to Cavalier. First, the lineup for the defending champs. Tywayne Lynch continues in goal, Kawain Thompson kept his spot in defense, and Kishane Gordon was given his debut after recently joining from Vere. As for Dunbeholden, informed Odean Samuel was captain, Nathaniel Wold gets a weird start, and Marlon Allen once again leads the line. No, it was a slow start by both teams as each failed to find any sort of rhythm. Cavalier held more of the ball though, but this wayward shot from debutant Kishane Gordon was the best we got attacking wise for the first 20 minutes. But the Duncan Destroyers remained in total control and again came close to finally breaking down Dunbeholden's defense, but Chad James could not stretch enough to get the telling touch. While down the other end, Dunbeholden were largely non-existent and required a set piece close to Cavalier's box to finally create some danger. But the match was firmly in Cavalier's grasp and they would get their much deserved lead in the 36th minute when Kawain Thompson crashed the box late and nodded home a goal, 1-0 to the Duncan Destroyers. And there wouldn't be much of a response from the visitors as Cavalier continued to look more the dangerous team of the two, but they failed to add to their tally before the halftime break. Second half now, and both teams made two changes at the break in hopes of bettering their attack. But Cavalier were still in full control and continued to probe, looking for the second goal. And what a way it finally arrived. It was a great turn and strike from Dwayne Allen, who doesn't score often, but this one was one for the record books. 2-0 and Cavalier were now cruising. And they would keep up their onslaught, and while Dunbeholden's goalkeeper John-Luke Wilmot should have done better with the initial shot, he more than made up for it with his quick double save. But too bad he got absolutely no help from his defense as substitute Wilberforce was allowed to take a Sunday stroll around the keeper and took the ball away into the empty net. 3-0 and Dunbeholden's defense were in shambles. And he would get from bad to worse moments after that. Christopher Ainsworth with some quick feet to get out of trouble before he played in a cross into the 6-yard box that was expertly dispatched by Dunbeholden's Pennycook for their own goal. 4-0 and it would take a miracle for Dunbeholden to come back in this contest. But they were given a slight ray of hope after the referee awarded them a penalty in the 88th minute. Summer signing Stephen Arnett volunteered to take it, and in the absence of Nicholas Nelson, he would score to salvage some pride for the visitors. But there was still enough time for Cavalier to score their easiest goal of the evening. A well-placed headed cross from Thompson found Joe McCleary free at the back post to tap the ball into the back of the net. 5-1, and that was effectively the game set and match for the Duncan Destroyers. So it was an easy win in the end for Cavalier, but how was the game in terms of stats? Cavalier had more of the ball with 54%, and they far outshot their opponents 15-6. The defending champs had 8 on target while the visitors had only 2, and Cavalier led the way in dangerous attacks. So wow, that was one of Cavalier's better performances this season. They may be in a rebuilding year, but when they are at their best, they will be like that one nagging mosquito that continues to buzz around your ear, and even though you can't seem to clap them. They are not flashy, but their continuous direct football produces results. As for Dunbeholden, to call this an off night for their defense will be an understatement. They need to burn the tape of this match and they simply never look back. Anyway, this one ended Cavalier 5, Dunbeholden 1. From here, we move on to our next match where basement dweller Spanish Town took on league leaders Montego Bay United. First, the starting lineup for the Police. Anil Ferguson is the usual man in midfield, Jaime McGregor will lead the attack, and McKinley makes his first appearance. As for MoBay, filling on the wing is the ever-present in defense, the Shadow Gibbs is back on the wings, and Jamari Clark would add to the attack alongside Jordan Fletcher. Now, when the game started, it was already one-way traffic. MoBay were fully dominant in the early proceedings, so it was no surprise that they would be the first to break the deadlock in the 28th minute. There was no way McKenzie was missing that one at the back post. Not long after that, MoBay would have the ball in the back of the net once again. A wide open Jordan Fletcher finished off things nicely to put MoBay 2 up by the 22nd minute. At this point, there was no question that MoBay were the ones in control, and they almost had an opportunity to go to the spot to make it possibly 3. But after a moment of confusion, the referee decided to reverse his decision, and I personally thought it was the right call not to give it. That would be the last major action of the first half. Second half now, and MoBay continued where they left off, fully in control, and they would get their third in the 61st minute, where Jamari Clark reacted fastest in the box to take home another goal. 3-0, and MoBay was playing this match on semi-pro setting. Now, some would say MoBay's Dwight Merrick has lost some form in recent weeks after his sparkling start to the season, but he would take home this real poacher's goal in the 64th minute to truly put this match out of police's head. His Reggae Boys teammate Jordan Fletcher also saw his form dip a tad bit, but he too would get himself an easy goal to give his team the 5th goal on the day. The police were soundly beaten, and the game would come to an end not long after that. So it was an easy trip to the nation's old capital, but how was it in terms of stats? No surprise, MoBay saw more of the ball with 60%, and no surprise, they outshot their opponents. But things were a lot closer in shots on target. Okay, let's begin with Police FC. Not many expected them to upset the odds against MoBay, but it's never a good look to be beaten 5-0 at home. They needed this merger financially. It couldn't have come at the worst time. No, they are in a state of flux after finally settling down before the merger. As for MoBay, this was ruthless and professionally done. Not much to say on this victory other than the acknowledgement that there will be sterner tests in the future. Anyway, this one ended Police FC 0, Montego Bay United 5. So that was Wednesday, but Thursday was also a busy day, and we will begin at Fernita Park. First, the lineup for the host Portmore United. Daniel Russell is back from international duty to keep in goal. Clayton Peck kept his spot, and Ramon Howell once again captains from midfield. As for Molynes, Gerald Neal Jr. makes a surprise return. Fraser gets a rare start, and after his hat-trick on his second debut, Nicholas Nelson kept his spot in the attack. Now, when the game started, Molynes were quick out of the blocks with Nelson testing Russell early. Molynes would continue to dominate the run of play, with Nelson and Pinnacle linking up well on this occasion. Portmore, on the other hand, was struggling in the final third with this deflected shot from Guthrie, the best they could offer in the first 35 minutes of action. Molynes would end the half the stronger, but they too failed to get a proper strike on target as halftime came with the match remaining goalless. Second half now, with Mother Nature bearing her fangs, Molynes still had the run of play and came close to taking the lead, but Russell reacted well to keep O'Day Murray off the score sheet. But there would be nothing he could do short of flying some moments after to stop Nicholas Nelson from grabbing yet another goal since his return. 1-0, and Nelson truly seemed like he's at home. After the goal, Portmore head coach Rudolph Austin made some attacking changes, and they started to see more of the ball. They used it well on this occasion to tee up McGregor, but the number 9 just could not direct his sliding effort east or west of Lamont. The rain continued to lash the Fernita Park surface, making simple things like dribbling difficult, so things were looking dire for Portmore, especially after this golden opportunity in front of goal went begging. But Portmore never lost hope and kept up the pressure, while Molynes players were practically begging the referee to end the game now. But the late drama was always on the cards, and this last-ditch blast from McGregor gave us the movie ending we all deserve, and sent the Portmore fans dancing in the rain. 1-1, and Molynes were so close to a big away victory. That was an incredible match despite the weather, but how was the game in terms of stats? No possession stats, but Molynes actually attempted double the number of shots than their opponents. Only 2 of those were on target for the home team, while Molynes had 6 on target, and they were 2 yellow cards apiece for each team. Okay, let's begin with Portmore. They were horrible for the first 65 minutes of the match, but you have to give them credit for digging deep and finding a way to not lose that match. It was a great cameo by McGregor in the end, and Portmore fans would be desperate if he could keep that going for the rest of the season. As for Molynes, it's obvious that draw must have felt like a loss, but the one positive that they can feel about themselves is that they know they should have come away with more against a very good Portmore United team. It shows just how much this team had grew since the start of the season. But anyway, this one ended Portmore United 1, Molynes United 1. Treasure Beach's last game was a 2-1 victory over Molynes, and with 5 days of rest, they head to Harbour View looking for all 3 points. First, the lineup for the start of the East: Garvin Davis is the man in goal, Garth Stewart is in defense, and Luca Kong continues in midfield. As for Treasure Beach, Moe Morgan is back as Palmer misses out and faces his old team. There's no Richard Brown, which might give an indication he lost his record appeal, and Raheem Porter gets to start again up top. Now, it was an energetic start by the home team, who even had the ball in the back of the net just minutes into the first half. Lucky for Treasure Beach, he was ruled out for a foul. Regardless, they were the ones in control and would eventually take the early lead in the 4th minute when Omar Thompson was on hand to tuck home this rebound. 1-0, and it's a flying start to the match by the stars of the East. Treasure Beach found themselves trailing early, but they had the right response and almost equalized, but Fleming could only hit the woodwork. So close, but yet so far from the team from St. Bess. From there, we had a much more even contest, although Trayvon Reed almost extended Harbor's lead with this free kick. We previously mentioned that Moe Morgan was returning to the starting lineup, and maybe he could chalk up this mistake to rustiness. His mistake was magnified when he took down Thompson in the penalty area, giving Harbour View a penalty. Trayvon Reed would take it, and after a few minutes of his slow run-up, he will score and extend Harbour View's lead by 2. And again, Treasure Beach almost had the immediate response, but Porter's slow roller was cleared just in time off the line. The back and forth between the two teams would continue, with both teams having some decent chances, but we had to wait all the way to the 45th minute for the game's next goal. Trayvon Reed broke away on a counter, and he will find his strike partner Rowan Brown in acres of space, and he will make no mistake from close range. 3-0, and you will think this match is already over. Second half now, and Treasure Beach head coach Kemar Ricketts must have made an inspiring speech, because they will start the half all guns blazing, leading to them winning a penalty early on. Fleming, who hit the post earlier, scored this time from 12 yards out. Treasure Beach were now back in the contest. And then just moments later, they will get another penalty. This one was more controversial, but to the spot Fleming went again, but this time he would hit the crossbar instead of the back of the net. A big letter for Harborview as they still lead the game. But Treasure Beach were now the ones bossing things around, and they would get their second goal in the 65th minute, where Daniel Hardy reacted fastest in the 6-yard box. 3-2, and Harborview were now the ones feeling nervous. And they had every right to be, as Treasure Beach were throwing waves after waves of attacks, and pressure would eventually burst pipe as Harborview, failing to clear their own box, led to Luca Kong putting the ball into the back of his own net. And just like that, amazingly, Treasure Beach were once again on level terms. And I'm so sorry that I could not show what happened next because of a technical issue that saw Omari Brown's 86-minute winner not be recorded. And yes, you heard right, a game winner as Treasure Beach fully turned things around 4-3. In the dying moments, Harborview tried their best to find the equalizer, but the final whistle would come and brought an end to this 7-goal thriller. So it was the very definition of the term a game of two halves, but let's look at the stats. Treasure Beach ended the game with more possession and also with more total shots. They had 9 shots on target while Harborview had 6 on target, and Treasure Beach clearly had more dangerous attacks. Wow, where to begin? What a match that was, perhaps one of the best so far this season, but I am sure Harborview's head coach Vassal Reynolds did not enjoy that match one bit. It's very difficult to even think where to go from here after being up 3-0 at halftime and somehow lost to relegation rivals 4-3 in the second half. How Harborview responds to this defeat will be a major test of his managerial abilities. As for Treasure Beach, if they ever had the tiniest of doubt that they belong at this level, It should be wiped away after this result. It's just a shame with another match coming this Sunday, they won't have much time to really enjoy it. Anyway, again, this one ended Harbour 3, Treasure Beach 4. So we got goals galore in St. Andrew, and we are hoping to get the same in West Kingston, where Tivoli Gardens hosted Racing United. First, the starting lineup for Tivoli, with Clark injury, Francis comes into goal, Danville Watson kept his spot in the midfield, and Nikolai Fuller returned to the starting lineup. As for the visitors, Nikhil Ellis returns to the starting 11, Javon Bosco gets another start, and so too does youth footballer Kadeem Young. And it will be a decent start by Tivoli Gardens as they cause an early scare for Racing in their penalty box. From there, for the next 10 minutes, things will be more even, with this shot the closest anyone would come in that span. As for Racing, it took them a while to get into rhythm, and this headout here was their first shot on target. But they would produce a much better one just moments later after such splendid work from Ellis, and Bosco tried his luck, but Francis saved well. They would have one more chance to take the lead into half time, but the less said about this free kick, the better. Second half now, and the heavens would open up, making conditions difficult, especially for the goalkeepers. The rain kept coming, but Racing pressed ahead, looking for the game's first goal, but Tajay Grant could not keep this one down. While at the other end, Nikolai Fuller opted to use the condition to his advantage, and it almost worked, but Aaron Enel would recover in time to keep things scoreless. It was raining cats and dogs at this point, and thanks to Natalia Francis and his defense, it would not be raining Tivoli tears as they managed to escape this chaotic moment. After that, the rain continued and the pitch became waterlogged, so it was no surprise the game would eventually end without a goal being scored. So it was a soggy good time, but how was the game in terms of stats? Racing had more of the ball with 56%, and they greatly outshot their opponents 11-6. Tivoli had 3 shots on target while Racing had 7, and Racing led the way in dangerous attacks. So it was yet another draw for Racing, their 6 out of their last 7 matches, and it seemed their fortune won't change until they add a lethal number 9. As for Tivoli, given the conditions, the injuries and their opponent, you would take that point. But going forward, they can't afford to drop too much here at home if they want to guarantee playoff football in May. So again, this one ended Tivoli Gardens 0, Racing United 0. Now we head around the corner to the jungle where Arnett Gardens was hosting Mount Pleasant. First, the starting 11 for the Junglish, Shadiko Rizard continues at right back, Jeremy Nelson returns to the lineup, and Rashane Thompson replaces Kelson in the starting 11. As for Mount Pleasant, it's a familiar tandem of Ming and Cummins at the back. The same could be said about Anglin and Thomas in midfield, and Coach Topper has once again opted for the strike tandem of Warner Brown and Ryan Edwards up front. Now, when the game started, Mount Pleasant was settled much quicker, and they would go on and cause an early danger in Arnett's box with this interval cross causing some trouble. But the story of the first half would largely circle around Daniel Green as he had one of his better games, and if he had managed to keep this shot a few inches lower, his name would have been on the score sheet early. Down the other end, it took Arnett longer than they wanted to get a foothold in the match, and they would finally cause some trouble, especially with crosses from the right. But the match was all more pleasant at this point, with Daniel Green leading the charge and earning a penalty for his team. Ryan Edwards would take it and score to give Mount Pleasant the lead in the 23rd minute, 1-0. And in a blink of an eye, they almost lost that lead as a beautiful through pass from Shea Smith played in Thompson, but he could not beat the Jamaica national team goalkeeper Teferi Chambers. But that lit a fire in Arnett, and they will now be the ones pressing forward, seeking a quick retribution, but Mount Pleasant defense stood firm. While down the other end, Green was causing nightmares and almost found Mount Pleasant second with his curler, but Bennett made an easy save. That would be the last major action of the first half. Second half now, and Arnett would start the better, again doing most of their attacking from the right, but Green was just pure magic tonight, and he would work some of it to free up a chance to interval, but the Asian shot was too straight to beat Bennett. He failed to score on that occasion, so I guess he could not give Warner Brown too much grief after Brown blasted this opportunity over the bar. 1-0 it remained. and they almost paid the ultimate price down the other end, but Chambers came up huge to deny Ricardo Thomas a nice free kick goal. From there, Arnett would keep up the heavy pressure, and Mount Pleasant had some nervy moments down the stretch, but in the end, their sheets would remain clean and they would go home with all 3 points. So it was a good match, but how was it in terms of stats? Mount Pleasant saw more of the ball with 58%, and they edged the Junglers in total shots. Both teams were even with shots on target, and both teams were close in dangerous attacks. So yeah, a good win by Mount Pleasant. They were made to work for it, but they got the job done. Demario Phillips had a great game from right back, while Daniel Green was a monster and was only missing a goal to make this a perfect performance. As for Arnett Guns, another defeat at home, but it was a solid performance and nothing for them to be ashamed about. But they can't afford to lose too much games at home going forward. Anyway, this one ended Arnett Gardens 0, Mount Pleasant 1. Now onto our final game, and one we don't have much footage on. Chapelton Maroons, who were riding high on a 4-game undefeated run, hosted the floundering Waterhouse. But a football is round for a reason, and Waterhouse would take back all 3 points to Kingston thanks to this sweeping counter. So it was a huge win for Firehouse, but let's look at the stats. Apparently things were even, at least in possession. 7 total shots for the Maroons, while the visitors attempted 5. 4 shots on target for the Maroons, while Waterhouse only had 2 on target, and the Maroons led the way in dangerous attacks. So yeah, you can't say too much without footage, but it seemed it was a close game that Waterhouse managed to edge out. A huge win for them, and the first under new head coach Javier Einstein. While Chapelton's streak is now broken, but this loss is nothing to lose sleep over. Anyway, once again it ended Chapelton Maroon 0, Waterhouse 1. So that was match week 19 in a nutshell, and definitely there were some fun games. That Harbour versus Treasure Beach game will not be forgotten anytime soon. Anyway, let's look at the standings real quick. Well, Montego Bay stretched their lead on top of the table. They now have 39 points. Racing are in second still with 34 points. Portmore in third as usual with 32 points. Mount Pleasant remains steady in fourth with 27 points. Cavalier looking good as well with 26 points in fifth. And Tivoli have rejoined the top 6 with 23 points. Arnett are still there and about with 7th place with 22 points. Chapelton slide back down to 8th with 22 points as well. Waterhouse are in 9th now with 21 points. Molynes join them with 21 points in 10th. Dunbeholden slide a little bit further back now to 11th with 19 points. Treasure Beach out of relegation with that big win with 18 points, and they push the Stars of the East to 13th with 15 points. And Spongetown Police remain in the basement with 8 points. And before poor old Jamaican can get some much needed rest, we have to gear up for match week 20 that is coming up this Sunday. Here are the matches on screen. Racing will be at home against Portmore in a Portmore derby. Dunbeholden will host Harbour. Treasure Beach will be at home against Arnett Gardens. Montego Bay welcome the visitor the Maroons. Mount Pleasant take on Waterhouse in a big clash at Draxall. Molynes will look to boost their points tally against Spongetown Police FC, and Cavalier will look for another win against fellow top 6 team Tivoli Gardens. But anyway guys, that's all I got here on this latest review show. Thank you all for watching, and please like, subscribe and share as we look to keep you all up to date on everything in the JPL leading up to the final in May. Otherwise, with great JPL content, you're already at the right place. JPL Fan. YouTube, pick up yourself.